call to order the February 23rd meeting of the Beaufort County Airports Board. If you'll all please rise and join me in the pledge.
That's right behind you.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and just to verify, Mark, you're the only one online with us today?
There he is.
Where he is.
Well, I don't s-
I heard him.
All right, Mark, if you can hear us, just say hello.
Hello. There you go.
That was the weakest hello I've ever heard.
This is sad.
Okay, public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. As we've done in the past, everybody's received an agenda. Hopefully by now you've all reviewed it. Does anybody have any comments, suggestions, additions to the current agenda? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
And
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, agenda is approved. Same story with the minutes. Hopefully you've had a chance to review the minutes that was sent out by the director's office. Any comments, changes, corrections to our minutes? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as published.
So moved.
A second. Or Leslie was quicker than I was. She can.
All right, well,
I'm in.
And
And I'm sorry.
all right, so it's Chris's
I'm
motion.
having a
Chris the
Monday on
motion,
Thursday.
Chris the motion, Ann's the second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Now, looking around, I see we have no public today, so we will skip past our public comment period and move right on to John's report.
Well, it must have been the date change because this place is normally packed, isn't it, Howard? I mean, you can pack a room, so this isn't your problem.
So overwhelming.
Purely a scheduling issue, Howard. All right, welcome to February. I can't believe we're almost finished with February already in 2023. So if you're still holding strong on your New Year's resolution, good job. Keep it going. All right, let's see. Let's get into the report here. I do have a clicker. We'll see if it works. Yeah, try again. I don't know where I'm supposed to point this thing. At you, at that, I don't know. There we go. Oh, now it's flying like crazy. Hold on, back. Oh, that was you. All right, back up one. All right, now let me see if I can do this. No, we better advance at one. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. I'm not really sure where to point it. Did they tell us? Right over there. I'm gonna point it at Jim. Nope, that didn't do it.
that broke it.
I would assume it's over there by the computer, but. Yeah, just, you'll have to do it, we'll see.
This section.
All right, go ahead and advance at one and we'll see.
Motion for adjournment.
Okay, just real quick department update, not a whole lot of general notes this month, but, Steve and I did attend the state conference at the South Carolina Aviation Association there, the first item. That was held last week, Wednesday evening through Friday noon up in Spartanburg. Good conference. The state conference is always an excellent conference, not just for the content that they have in the sessions, but also just the personal encounters that you have there, the folks you run into. Ann was there as well, representing you all as well as the Aeronautics Commission, because she is our commissioner from District 1. And so there's exhibitors at the conference, as well as lots of attendees who it's good to run into. And some of those are people like our EMOS representatives, the folks who supplied those blocks for us at either end of Hilton Head. They were there, and we talked a few, strategic project items with them, because our EMOS beds they'll be 5 years old in May. So we're getting to the point where we have to do some testing on those beds, and then do some maintenance projects on those as well within the next couple of years. So it's good to talk with him. Also ran into some FAA folks that we don't normally have a chance to run into, as in regional administrators, which was good to have some FaceTime with them and let those folks know what our important issues are at both airports, primarily Hilton Head. And we got a chance to talk with our consultants are there as well. So our team of engineers and planners get together with us and the FAA staff and get a chance to talk through projects. So there's really just no replacement, no substitute for those one-on-one meetings or face-to-face meetings. So that's a primary benefit of the conference. And then, of course, with the discussion, you also have a chance to learn from other airports and just find out, what's going on at the other airports across the state. So definitely a good time, and it was well attended as well. So our next thing I'm going to institute each month, I'm going to introduce you to a member of the airports team. Because some of you may run into folks from time to time, and some of you may never encounter any more of our staff than you see at the meeting. I think it's important that you understand who's making us successful, who's making Steve and I look good behind the scenes. So today we're going to introduce you to Robert Street. And Rob came to us in the summertime, Steve? I forget. About summertime? Rob's an Army veteran, so we're looking for a Navy person. We have he's our Army guy. We have a couple of Air Force folks and a whole bunch of Marines. We don't have any Navy folks. So if you're a Navy person out there looking for a really cool job, come talk to us and we'll find a place for you at the airport. But Rob is outstanding. He's got a pretty interesting background in the Army. I don't know exactly what he did, but part of his bio says that he was in both Afghanistan and Iraq training commandos. So don't mess with Rob, I think, is the message behind that. But he's very technical, very personable, and he's already saved us a lot of money at the airport because he worked for Overhead Door before he came to us. So he's done a lot of PMs on our hangar doors. He's gone through each one of our hangars at both airports, checked out doors, and he's got a list of things that either need to be done or things he's already been able to fix on those doors. And he also knows quite a bit about our mechanical gates, which are, if you have anything mechanical, you know that sooner or later, probably sooner, you're gonna have issues with them. And the gates are definitely no different there. So he's been a huge help to the team, looking at all that stuff. And in a lot of instances where we've had to call a contractor to come up and fix things, Rob can handle it. So he's been a huge asset to us, saved us time and money. And sometimes you still have to call a specialist to come in, but at least Rob's been able to do some diagnosis beforehand and identify a problem. So he's been a huge asset to the team. He's got a great attitude, and we're glad to have him as as a new join, a kind of a leader of our maintenance crew over at Hilton Head. Really a shared asset between the two airports. So that's Rob. He's posing in front of our new fire truck. So, but if you see him out and about, he could be at either one of the airports fixing something. But take the time and say hi to him and thank him for what he does, because so far he's definitely earned his paycheck with us. So we're glad to have him on the team. Thank you. All right, let's talk about what's going on at Buford Executive. As you may remember, right after our last board meeting, we were having the fly-in, the Breakfast Club fly-in. And as luck would have it, we have sun before the event and after the event, but not at the event. So we had a little bit of a, mostly cloudy day for that event, and I only had a few people who flew in, but I think we had probably 35-ish people who were there for the breakfast. Had some locals who came in as well, which was nice. But I think the important thing was we held that event inside the terminal. It was a little bit cool that day. It warmed up as the day went on, but it started out a little bit breezy and cool. So everybody kind of migrated inside the terminal building, and they were able to enjoy that renovated terminal. And everybody really liked it. Several of the folks who flew in had not been there in a number of years and were extremely impressed with the renovations. So I think that was good. It kind of got us on the map with them too, because I think they'll spread the word at how much fun it was to fly into Buford and to attend that event. So we are due for a beautiful 3 or 4 day string of sunshine next year, and we'll have 100 people and 75 airplanes. That's what he told me. If we have a sunny couple of days together, so the pilots can plan that we could fill that ramp. So next year. The next one there, terminal as a venue. This is something we've talked about as a staff, and I kind of just want to get your buy-in as a board on this. With all the work that we've done, this is some of the landscaping, and these were taken yesterday afternoon. Once we get it all done, we'll have you out there to take a look at it. But we have completely renovated that facility inside and now outside. We've been able to take advantage of grant funds as we've described in the past. But what we'd like to do is, we've been approached by a couple of groups who thought that'd be a really cool place to have a small kind of an intimate gathering. You know, it may be a nonprofit board that does an annual meeting. It could be, who knows, a baby reveal or something like that. I have no idea what they may do. But it's, you know, we could probably accommodate 50 to 60 people between indoor and outdoor. You can kind of make out there's a little bit of an area that's formed up with some lumber there. We're going to extend the patio out there. So we'll have some more area. We'll have kind of portable shade that goes over that. We're not going to extend the roof because the roof, that kind of mess up the roof line. But that's going to provide a real nice place to have some outdoor gathering space, have some lighting out there, just make it a really, really neat setting. And then, of course, there's aircraft on the ramp. So, you know, what could be cooler than having a glass of wine and seeing airplanes, you know, 50 feet from you. We will have a no smoking rule out there, though. But that's something that we're looking at. We think that it could really be an interesting, not just a revenue generator for the airport, but a great way to generate interest and just open up those gates like we said before. These airports are the community's airports. Like I say, we have fences around them because we have wildlife, not because we want to keep the people out. We do have our security concerns, obviously, but we handle that. But we want folks to be able to enjoy their airports. So we think this would be a fantastic way to open up Beaufort Executive, now that it is much more of an executive feel there, and have it out there as a venue. So interested in any feedback that y'all may have. I'm working together with legal. They're fine with it. We'll just kind of write our own internal policy on that. But interested to find out what the board feels about that. So you can either do it now or you can hit me on the way out. That was an invitation for questions or comments.
John, if you're inviting a question or two,
Sure.
I commend you for what you're doing there in Beaufort and bringing it more into the public eye. How much utilization is there of the courtesy cars that are available?
It's almost always out.
Is there tracking on that? Is it something that we should be looking at to add to the fleet?
We probably could. We actually were discussing that yesterday, but it's a very popular item. For anybody who flies in and out of GA airports, you know that's one of the first things you ask or you check before you go. Do you have a courtesy car? Because you either have a meeting to go to, you're going to get some food, something like that. So it is out nonstop. On a day like this with decent weather, it'll be out all day today, in and out. We limit the amount of time that it can go out, but it's constantly back and forth.
And do we market that in any way?
I believe, I don't know if it's on our AirNav listing or not, but
It is, yeah, it's on
It is.
4Flight.
It's in ForeFlight and Garmin Pilot.
Yeah.
And again, compliments on trying to bring some private or semi-private meetings in. It was interesting to hear that you will be addressing the security issues. You don't always know who you're going to have at a meeting of that nature. And the availability for them to get towards the aircraft would scare me a little bit.
right, and part of the upgrades will be a camera system and that kind of thing too, so, you know, we'll have that addressed. And then, of
Well
course,
done.
any group that comes in is gonna be briefed on what the rules and regulations are, and we'll post some signage out there for events, because, you know, this is the air side, so you do have direct access to the apron. And we'll just have some signage out there to make sure people understand what they can and can't do, and of course, we'll vet the groups that go out
Awesome.
there. Sure,
John,
thank
I
you.
know the idea is in its infancy, but if a group approaches your office, is there a fee for an event to be held at the airport? Has a fee schedule been established yet or thought about?
All right, answer the first question, yes, there will be a fee. No, that schedule has not been established yet.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had, if I remember correctly, before, we had a few different groups that met kind of regularly out there.
We
Yeah,
did,
before
and,
we-
and those, Chris, those were more, I know we had a subcommittee of the Planning Commission that met out there. So we had some governmental entities who met there.
Didn't we have church event?
Yep,
Somebody used to come
we have
out?
a church group that still
Yeah.
meets out there on Wednesday
Yeah.
evenings. We open up the whole place to them because they've expanded beyond the initial, they were in the
Yeah.
conference room before, they had more people, which I
Mhm.
guess that's a good thing. So they've expanded into the lobby, but we do have some interest there. This we're kind of seeing as a, wine and cheese kind of thing, a neat evening
Yeah.
venue. God bless them in sand that season, but there's usually a pretty good breeze out there.
Yeah.
But we think it could be a really interesting venue.
Addressing your original question, I think the patio is a great idea.
Thank you. I can picture some bistro tables out there and people leaning up
Sounds
against the
good.
tables, yeah. Okay. Scratching some notes here. Anybody else? Any questions, comments, concerns?
No, I've been out there quite a bit, so I've just kind of seen it in stages. It's been fun to kind of watch it all. Gonna look good.
Can you click to the next one? Yeah, that's another example of what the air side looks like. So I kind of highlighted that little rain garden. We've got one on each side in the front of the airport. And what we did, we replaced all the gutters on the building too. They were getting older. So we have seamless gutters across both sides of the building, and we tied the downspouts together. They used to just kind of have splash blocks and a run across the lawn. And the problem out there, you can see, is a little bit of a slope that goes down towards the apron. And that hill, after it rained, I swear would weep onto the apron for a week after it rained. And we just constantly had some moisture down there. So we worked with the landscape folks and came up with this idea to do kind of a rain garden. So those roof drains now are connected, and they will go into these. It's a pit underneath those plants, but these are plants that like to be in a wet environment. So that's kind of how we're going to handle the stormwater. We'll see how it goes, but we thought it would be utilitarian and aesthetically pleasing at the same time. And then I think there's one more. All right, and this shows you the front side, or the land side. So this is as you walk in, and again, this isn't almost, it's not done. This was last night at 5 o'clock. But now, if you remember walking up that sidewalk before the front door, you basically just had, kind of grass and stuff on either side of it. So now you'll have beds, planted beds on either side of you as you walk up to the front door. And you see the area with a little retaining wall. There's kind of a little planter area there. So once that gets all filled in and starts to mature in the next couple of months, it's going to be a really nice approach up to the front door of the building. And all the doors have been replaced as well. So if you haven't been there in a while, you got pulling that door a little bit more than you used to because they actually seal now. Nice concept, but so there's a lot going on there, and we're really proud of it and can't wait till it's complete. We're on schedule for a chamber business after hours at the end of April, and we're gonna kind of do a ribbon cutting at the same time of the new renovated facility. So
Do you have a date on that, April, on
the
that?
28th, I think it's the 28th. Pencil in the 28th, and we'll confirm that. We'll see if you make a note. Almost sure that it's the 28th, but we'll have a nice evening event out there. They usually about 5:30, something like that. They last for an hour and a half. So there'll be opportunities for sponsorships there too. So if you own a local business, expect to get a phone call. Because we are still poor, so we're going to ask for your money. Okay. Do we have any more on ARW? I think that's it.
And one comment, John.
Yeah.
I don't know who's been updating the Facebook page and other social media. They're doing a nice job. I
Good.
like seeing the pictures out there, and I like the updates.
Awesome. I think Marlene's doing that, right?
Please like and share those.
Of course.
Is that you and Marlene doing that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not good at Facebook unless I'm making fun of my kids.
I did that too. My kids, not yours.
Yeah, thanks. Anything else on there? I can't remember where we are slide-wise. All right, do we have any more for ARW? Just click, let's see what's the next one. Okay, let's go to Hilton. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I should have a viewer here. You guys have it, I don't. I think that's unfair. But any other questions on that ARW before we move over to Hilton Head?
So one maybe comment for the entire committee. Have we thought about hosting a board meeting either at ARW or at Hilton Head?
We used to do that, Nick. That's a great question. And they used to go back and forth between the airports. But then years ago, I'm going to say probably the mid-2000s, does that sound right, Ann?
Yeah.
Before my time, the whole everybody's on TV for every meeting happened with the county, with the county channel and all the whole transparency. And so that kind of changed how we did that. And there wasn't as much room for a public venue, all these people need a place to sit. Flash behind me. But anyway, maybe it's something worth taking back up. We don't have a place to meet at Hilton Head though.
Okay.
And ARW, you've got the lobby. I mean, we don't have a big gathering space, so to speak. We have enough for about you guys, and that's
Yeah, the only
not a whole lot
place
more.
to meet over there would be Signature. They probably have a conference room and that's about it.
Signature's got a little conference
That's
room,
a
but they
little-
don't have a big
big
one.
one, okay.
So
It'd be enough for us, but it would not fit a public.
Yeah,
eventually, we'll have one at Hilton Head, but it's going to be a couple years before we have that finished. So, maybe we address it at that point. But I think what they did by putting it in the respective council chambers was to try to give the communities a sense that they know where to go, if they do want to attend.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we're doing a good enough job. Nobody needs to come.
yeah.
Kudos to you guys. All right, anything else for ARW? All right, so we'll talk about Hilton Head a little bit. A few more bullets here, just because I had a few spring cleaning items or pre-spring cleaning items going on there. This was worthy. I should have taken a picture or put a picture on here for the terminal roof, but we had that power wash a couple of weeks ago, and it looked dirty, but it didn't look that dirty until you started washing it, and it's clean now. So the building is much nicer looking. Have the whole front of it pressure washed in advance of the season. So spring break will kick off here any day. If you've had to drive onto the island on Hilton Head this week, you'll realize that there's something going on there because the traffic is just out of control. It just started this week and it is crazy. Like I always say, the island does a pretty good job of marketing itself. So we need to get a few more cars off the road and get them flying in. But the terminal's looking a lot better now on the front. And then that second bullet there talking about the airside painting, that's being lined up as well so that all the exposed steel on the air side of the building will get cleaned up as well, because we'll have that whole room's going to be there for a number of years, regardless of whether it's being used as a hold room. It's still going to be there, and that's the first visual impression that folks are getting of the island when they taxi up to the gates. So we're going to clean that up and make sure it looks good. Next item is rubber removal and painting on the runway, and that's just a follow-up to some of our inspection comments we had last year. Our rubber removal just keeps getting delayed, so we keep trying to get that scheduled. And as soon as we do that, then we can refresh the paint out there. So that'll get squared away soon. Tomorrow is the triennial, so that every third year we're required by the FAA to do a live ARF drill at the airport. And with that, we coordinate with, I say we, it's really Chief who does this. He coordinates with all the other agencies in the area, including entities, could be anywhere from, Hilton Head Island Fire Rescue to the FBI, everybody, depending on what the scenario is, to participate in this event. Not everybody will necessarily be at the airport, but they'll be, kind of following in their playbook. The key players will be out on the airport. We'll have a simulated incident out there. There will be fire that needs to be put out on Hunter Army Airfield. Lets us use their equipment. They have a nice helicopter fuselage that's propane fed, so the guys actually get to fight fire. And then we'll have a casualty scenario that gets run through, and so the EMS folks, Hilton Head Island Fire Rescue, will go through their triage procedures and things like that. So it's as real life as it can be without having an actual incident out there. And then after that, we'll probably chalk talk it for a good while too, and then just go through some of the other admin procedures that have to happen in an event like this. And an example of that is if it's a commercial airplane with 70 people on board, and you have casualties and people who are not casualties, well, how do you reunify all those people with family members and stuff like that? Because that when something like that happens, everyone is going to show up at the front door of the airport asking questions. All of that is part of the management of an incident like this. So we kind of chalk talk through all of that as well. So it's a pretty involved deal. Chief has done a great job putting it together. He's got extraordinary buy-in from Hilton Head Island Fire and Rescue as well. So that's always been a great relationship, but I think Chief's taken it to another level, so we're proud of him for doing that. So that's tomorrow. And I think we're going to have the county channel out there, right? Did we confirm that they're coming out? We'll check and see, but a couple of reasons to have the county channel out there if they can make it. Number one is it makes for some really good social media. for the county to show the training. And, just like a sports team, it allows our guys to go back and watch that film and see how they did. So hopefully we can make that happen. If not, one of us will be out there with the iPhone and we'll do that for them.
On that specific question, and you raised social media, sometimes unfortunately, social media is there. And are we advising people that if someone happens to be the fire drill and they get on social media and they start crapping around social media and create an idea that there's something wrong?
That's a good idea. I'm not sure. I'll check on that, but we'll make a note and make sure that we do say, if you're landing and you see something.
Or driving by or at the recycle center or something of that nature, people tend to jump into things without looking, asking, or really seeing, and
That's exactly right.
could create a little issue.
Yeah, we'll put it on social media, and NOTAMs will go out on the air side as well. That way, pilots fly in, know this is a drill.
Thank you,
So,
Steve.
Notives and social media. The folks on the airfield are used to seeing the rescue vehicles going back and forth with lights on because we do assist in a lot of medevacs. And then anytime they're even doing an inspection on the airfield, they've got the lights on as well. So it's not an uncommon thing. But if they see them stop and dispense, water onto something, they might wonder. Although, again, Chief has done, they live train all the time now. So if you're at the airfield, you'll see that truck run a couple of times a week and actually put water out there, it's good. So, and they're keeping the grass growing.
Thank you, John.
Keep our maintenance guys busy. All right, St. Patrick's Day Parade, we will be in that this year. We're gonna put the new fire truck in there. So now we've got two big trucks. We can meet our index while putting a truck in the parade. So we can do both things, very exciting. We've wanted to do it for years and really haven't been able to. So we will be in the St. Patrick's Day Parade on March the 12th. It's a Sunday afternoon. So we'll have several folks on the truck.
Will you be on the truck, John?
You're gonna have to see if you can find me on the truck. I might be, I might not be. There could be a leprechaun on top, I don't know. All right? There won't be any green beer on the truck, though. And then the next one, the golf sponsorship. This is another great community opportunity. I was approached by Jack Schuler. Some of you guys probably know Jack from the airport. He's deeply involved with Volunteers in Medicine. And so they do I guess it's a Pro-Am golf tournament. And so we're a birdie level sponsor, which is a higher level sponsor. We'll actually we get two entrants as well. So two of our firefighters are going to play, and they'll get matched up with some local pros too, which should be fun for them. They asked me if I wanted to play, and I let them know that my handicap is golf. So they quickly asked me if anybody else might be interested. So we're doing that, and we'll see how that goes. I think it gives us great exposure as a local event that I think a lot of people will pay attention to. So, every now and again we get asked the question, well, what do you do for local marketing? Because some people on the island need to be reminded that we've got commercial service at the airport. So these are two things that we'll do to remind people that we are in the community, we're part of the community, and oh, by the way, we've got some, commercial service as well. So we do it as a budget allows, but we felt that these two had pretty good bang for the buck as well. You'll see with the RBC Heritage coming up too, there'll be advertisements. We did buy some TV time for that, so you'll see us on national TV. Kudos to Rocio for the next one, the Valentine's treats. She made up 60-some little bags of candy and goodies, and our administrative staff went around and delivered those to all the members of all the teams within the terminal. So everybody from the airlines to TSA to our cleaning crews were treated with a Valentine's Day treat last week, and thanks to Rocio for putting that together. She's, guys, how it is at home. They always come up with the best idea, so Rocio's got a very creative mind. She's already thinking about Easter. I'm not wearing a bunny outfit. Just get that out there in the public. I don't do that. But she's coming up with some ideas, and what we're trying to do is just let those tenants know that we appreciate them. And if we can help them have a smile on their face when our customers come in, then our customers feel better. So it's all about how people feel, and that's what we're trying to work on. Of course, you have to be effective, but we want the customers to remember how they felt. Next one's a serious one. I talked a little bit about the EMOS. So we're getting to that point. At 5 years is when you have to do field strength tests of those. So basically what you do is you take some core samples, you analyze those, and several other test that they do at both ends of the airport, and that will just tell us if those beds are still, at their expected effectiveness level 5 years in. And they have, is it a 10-year lifespan or 20?
A 10-year lifespan.
10-year lifespan until you have to look at potentially upgrading, changing out some blocks. And where you typically get the most wear is the front few rows of blocks, and that's because of jet blast. There's a blast deflector at the very toe of the slope of that bed, but it's not 100% effective. So you end up getting some seam wear off, some seam seal wear off on that. But the good news is we'll get those tests done, we'll find out the results, and then that will roll us into probably a much more comprehensive maintenance project. So that'll be the big one when we figure that out. And then the last one, certainly not least one, I had a meeting Tuesday about Project Cloud, which is that one we talked about at the far north end. It's kind of the northeast corner of the airport. Currently not on airport property, it's off property. But there's a developer we've been working with for a number of years. They're starting to really get their game figured out, I think. Their business has grown since we first started talking, and it's encouraging how they've grown. So we met with economic development folks from the Economic Development Corporation and also from the county and the town of Hilton Head Island folks. They're not economic developers, but that's kind of the hat that they wear for their respective entities, and the developer this week, and just talk through some more of the project and what it's kind of transformed into. And I think it's becoming pretty exciting. So we had to give them some assignments to go back and put a little bit more meat on the bone of what they're talking about. But the town folks, the county folks, all seem to be in support of the concept. So we'll wait for some more information to come back, and then I think the first step, once that information is looking good, the first step will be to probably engage town council first, since it's on Hilton Head Island, and just get their buy-in, and then move on from there. So once we get to that stage, I'll hopefully be able to brief you with a few more details of who and what, specifically that involves. But it'll be, it's turning out to be a pretty good development, I think.
John, there are two parcels at the north end of the airport, two different, as I understand, two different owners of the parcels. Which parcel are we talking about? Or are we talking about both parcels?
We're talking about, I think it's just two, and I have to look at the tax maps, but one is privately owned, and the developer has an option on that. And then the second one is actually town of Hilton Head Island property. And that property was purchased years ago by the town for economic development. So it fits in very nicely with the concept. I think it's just one parcel. It's separated by a drainage ditch that goes through. So the developer has some work to do with the Corps of Engineers as well, so they can try and cross that ditch. But as long as they can bridge that, then that opens up some more acreage for them, and it makes their larger program work, which is more beneficial. All right, questions on that? There was a whole lot of information there. So.
John, this is a vague memory from when the runway was expanded and the EMOS was installed. I thought I recalled that there was some question at that time about that process being continued in the future, and I'm delighted to hear you talk to them at the conference. Has that changed?
It has, and you have a good memory, Jim. What happened as we were procuring those blocks to install, or maybe just after we procured them and had them installed, the original company, Zodiac Aerospace, went out of business, and they did not produce blocks anymore. Well, lo and behold, we kind of knew this would happen. There's really only one group that produces these blocks. They changed some names, they changed some people, they got the intellectual rights transferred, preserved, whatever they had to do, and now it's called Runway Safe. We deal with the same people, and they have the same blocks. They just have a new logo. So it's actually a new company that owns them, but all the intellectual rights are there. All the project, all the manufacturing rights and that are still solid for them. And they actually have two products now. So back when we were doing this, the design for the EMOS beds, there was a second product that was in development. I think one had just been installed at Chicago Midway. And it's a similar concept, just like the EMOS, but it's made with emulsified recycled glass. So totally different product, but same concept. So, just it's something else to at least study in the future. You have an alternative to analyze, next time we get around to this. But that's the answer to the question. Throughout the drama there, it ended up that now they're called Runway Safe and they have the same product, so.
Would you do me a favor and let my wife know my memory's good?
That might cost you, Jim.
John, just out of curiosity, if during the inspection that's coming up for the EMS, if they find a couple of blocks or blocks here and there that fail, are those replaceable individually? Or does that then trigger a more thorough look at the entire area?
Well, what they do is they only sample, I think they sample 10 blocks at each bed. I think that's right. And then they extrapolate that information across the bed. So they'll sample blocks from different positions, and then we have different depth of blocks there because it's almost a slight upward slope. So at the back, they're a little bit bigger. So I think what they'll do is they extrapolate the information so they understand what all the blocks are generally doing. If they were to test one that had a fatal flaw in it, they can replace that block. So they're all 6x6 blocks? They're 6x6. So those blocks can each be extracted. It's not clean because they're cemented down. So it's a messy operation, but it can be done. And that's the same thing that would happen if you had an incursion. You wouldn't replace the whole bed. You'd only replace the blocks that are damaged. So it is an expensive endeavor if you have an incursion, but in the event of a test, I think it'd be a one-for-one swap. Anything else on Hilton Head? Is that the end of the slides? That's the end of the slides. Okay.
Are you going to continue on Hilton Head, or are you moving on?
Well, it's the end of my slides, so I'll take questions if you have questions.
Can we have an update on the process for the terminal, where we are in bidding and
Great question, and I
RFPs?
meant to mention that. Thank you. Yes, the project architect was in touch with us this week, and I think I mentioned that we're getting close to putting that back out for bid. The plan right now is first part of March to be able to advertise those bids. So we're working with the purchasing department now to get all the documents uploaded onto the online system. What it looks like is right now the 3rd of March, it's a Friday, is when we have those out for advertisement.
And then is there a 30-day or 60-day window for responses?
Oh, what do we have? I think it's 6 weeks, because I think April 19th, if I'm not mistaken, is our tentative bid opening date. So I think that's about 6 weeks.
Okay.
Thank you for that question. I meant to mention that. The biggest project.
Takes up all your time.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'll let, Mr. Chairman, I'll stay here because I think we have some
Yep,
action
come right
items.
back there. I don't recall any unfinished business. Any board member have unfinished business they'd like to bring back up? If not, John, we'll move
All
right
right.
back to new business.
Thank you. All right, so we do have a couple of action items. Some of these, they're a little bit forward-looking, but I wanted to get them to you now in case things accelerated. The first one, you had some backup information in your packet. And I might have mentioned this before, but there's a small piece of property that was previously, or still is part of Executive, which is a private hangar community down at the north end of the airport at Hilton Head. But there's a small portion of one of their parcels, there's a nice rectangular parcel, and that portion basically became de facto airport property when we did the taxiway project back in 2017. And the reason that happened is when the taxiway got moved over, the lights, the utilities, the stormwater drainage, all happened in that parcel. So when we were talking with Executive, I guess it was in the beginning part or middle of last year, one of the members brought that up and said, hey, that's still listed as our property, but we can't get there. Even if we wanted to mow the grass, we can't do that because it's on the active airfield. And I said, it's a wonderful point. So we're going to go ahead and acquire that. We've had it appraised. That's why I was confident in putting a not to exceed number on the agenda here for you. So we'll be able to get that done with soft costs and property costs for less than $50,000. So at some point, potentially between board meetings, we'll be trying to get that into a committee cycle for purchase. So I wanted to get your vote of approval on that. So when we do end up going to committee, actually we don't have to at that dollar level. But when the administrator asks me, have you taken this to the board? We can say that you've reviewed it and you understand what's going on. That's all we're looking for on that one.
Have you agreed on a price yet, or is that still part of the negotiation?
We haven't made an offer yet. So we've got the appraisal finished and the review appraisal finished. The next step is to get okay from administration to move forward, and then we'll make the offer. So,
John, do you see any potential new use for that property once we hopefully acquire it?
no, we're already using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to buy it. We're already using it as the airfield
So
right
no
now.
new construction,
No.
hangars or
Yeah, it's in
anything?
between, it's in between two taxiways, nothing can be done with it. Our
Thank you.
taxiway is on their property.
Thanks.
All right, so if you guys wouldn't mind giving me a positive vote on that.
All right,
Second.
I need, like somebody to make a motion to approve the purchase of a portion of the executive property adjacent to the taxiway for an amount not to exceed $50,000. Chris motion, Jim second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved.
Thank you. All right, the next one, and I do want to take these separately just for purposes of our minutes, because when we apply for these local accommodations and hospitality grants, at least on the accommodations tax at Hilton Head, they want to see that the board has approved the use of those, or the application for those funds. What is that?
Jeez.
Steve, you want to relay, Steve, what you think we have up here?
Wow.
I'll save that for later.
I see.
I didn't know we were having an art interpretation session here, but excuse me for being distracted. So this next one here is, we apply every year for accommodations tax grant funds from the town of Hilton Head Island. And we do that usually it's the August timeframe. So I'm really early on that, but I want to get that finished now, get it in our minutes, and then it's easy for me to pull that package together. So again, this is the same thing we've done for the last several years. We use those funds for marketing. And all of those funds, let's see, those are ATAX. So all those funds are used for out-of-market marketing, so for incoming passengers. So we're out in New York City, Boston, all those places doing almost exclusively online advertising with those funds. So I'm just looking for an approval on that.
All right, I'll accept a motion for an approval to apply for the town of Hilton Head Island's accommodation tax, a tax grant for tourism and marketing.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Nick, who was the second?
Tim again.
Jim,
He's quick.
second?
He's quick today.
Jim is quick.
We need that money.
You have to move
Yeah.
quick. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, the motion will pass.
All right, thank you very much. So, Jim, you're also paying attention, so I'll tell your wife, you have a great memory and you're just on top of things today.
I need all the help I can
That's an
get.
extra 20 though. All right, next one there is similar, but this is for county hospitality tax funds. And this one, as you may recall, we use at both airports. So at Hilton Head, we use that for local marketing. And then at Beaufort Executive, we've used that to leverage the state grants to do the renovations we've done on the terminal. So important funds there that we've been able to use. We're very thankful for, but I wanted to go ahead and get the board on record for approving our application for those funds. When do we do that? In the fall, right? Or December, November, December?
Yeah.
So we're way in advance of that, but I figured if we're gonna do A-tax, might as well do H-tax.
We'll entertain a motion for the approval for the office, the director's office to apply for the county hospitality tax grant for tourism, marketing, and infrastructure.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Tom and Ann. Tom is the motion maker, Ann is the second.
You're getting beat by Jim.
Any discussion?
I'm getting the reputation.
Are we moving too fast, Jim? Are we,
He likes to be in the minutes.
any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, so as we do the budget this year, maybe we'll put game show buzzers in for you guys. Look on this. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and congratulations for getting a little more of the local marketing in. It's an exciting program. I think it will do the airports a lot of good as we get down the track. And just for the record, Rosia, I noticed that Brian is logged in for attendance. I need to bring something to the board's attention, which I noted in an email a week or so ago. Currently, we have 2 vacancies on the board from north of the Broad, ARW. Ian has resigned, citing work conflicts for his position on the board, so that's a vacancy. And recently, a board member has been asked to step off the board based on attendance issues. So I want to remind the board that the county, first, the airport's director is required by the counties to submit an annual attendance report based on our attendance at each of our meetings, and they do so every year. And based on that report, information is reviewed, and the county has the right to remove any board member if they miss more than 1/3 of the board meetings during the year, or they miss 3 consecutive meetings during the year. And in fact, that has happened for Trey. So it does create a second vacancy on the ARW side. So if you have friends, acquaintances who can fill those vacancies based on the criteria that the county has outlined, and I'll refer you to the Code of Ordinances, Article 5, which lists the criteria for membership on the board. Please look to see what you can do to recruit that person. I know the vacancies are made available on the county's website as well for those people examining. We have no vacancies currently on the Hilton Head side, on the south of the Broad, although I think for the first time in the longest time I can remember, we have 3 applicants that are anxious to join the board who would fill some of the criteria that are required for us. So please keep in mind the attendance requirement. Keep your eyes open for potential candidates from north of the Broad so we can fill those seats.
Well, just, since people may be watching on, from home, what's the requirement? Because typically one is a pilot and then within 3 miles.
I did not bring all of the requirements with me,
Okay.
but they're readily available on the site. So I would
Okay.
suggest as board members, we go visit the county site, take a look at the requirements for the 11 seats that are available on the board. It is, well, please do that at your convenience so we know what's going on. I also would like some feedback next month from the board. I have considered writing to the county and discussing with John the elimination of some of those requirements or broadening their scope. It gets more and more difficult to find volunteers to fill seats on this particular board because the requirements are somewhat tight. So I'd like you to each go look at the site, look at the current requirements, and next month be prepared to discuss your feelings about the way they're currently stated and whether or not we should ask the county and John to consider broadening the descriptions that are contained. So a little homework for everybody to deal with.
Mr. Chairman?
I-
If I can help, I think, just to answer Chris's question, if I recall, that one of the positions in Beaufort, says with Ian, is the board or the Regional Chamber of Commerce,
Chamber.
Beaufort Regional Chamber of Commerce
Okay.
appointee. So they can pick someone. I think it's got to be a member in good standing with the chamber, and I think that's about the only requirement. The other one is a local resident who's an aircraft owner based at ARW.
Can we switch with, because I'm a member of the chamber already, plus I'm a pilot.
Well, let's, what we can do, let's coordinate with Rocio, and what we ought to do is maybe we can get from the clerk's office just a roster of all, because you may not know which seat you're in. We'll get a roster and we'll show you which of those slots each of you is in,
I think
and that way we
Lucia
can
has that,
figure it
because
out.
I have a copy of that. I
Okay.
didn't bring that copy, but and
She's
to
always a
answer your
step ahead of
question,
me.
we have done that in the past. Actually, Ann
Yeah.
and I switched at one point in time.
Yeah, because I mean, to help try to get somebody on the board regardless of which
Yeah.
way.
Right, exactly. So if that helps, we'll get Rocio to help
The
run that.
non-aviation or non-governmental bodies members are referred to as proximity members, and I think it's within 2 miles of one of the airports.
I think it's 3 miles. We'd like to extend that a little bit further out. But again,
Yeah.
the suggestion is please review it online, and at next month's meeting, let's be prepared to discuss it. And we'll see if I could ask you to take a look someplace in the system and see if you have the assignments for each of us based on how we fit the criteria. And if you could send it to each board member,
We have it here after the meeting as well.
Yeah, perfect.
that would be great. Thank you. And that will tell you
Yeah.
where we all fit. All right, I have no committee reports that I'm aware of.
Now, I just have was that the gentleman that you brought up with the employee spotlight? Was he working on the gate maybe last week or a week before? Was that him?
Yes, he's been up at Beaufort Executive several times trying to
I know that's your
get that
favorite gate.
It's my favorite gate. I
It's
think
So
we're,
still, he had it working, didn't he, and then it broke again?
yeah, there's there's something
Okay.
there that I don't
Struck by
understand.
lightning, so
Oh, who knows then? You got all kinds of electrical.
Yep.
Jeez.
So
Okay.
it's same storm.
Which reminds us, another thank you, John, because I think adding that to our board meetings, introducing us to the other members of your office, I think will be very helpful
Yeah.
down the road and very informative for
Yeah.
us as well.
I agree.
So thank you for that.
All right, thanks. And in case anybody's wondering, if you remember Joel from ARW,
Yeah.
his birthday was this past weekend, so I always get in touch with him and wish him a happy birthday. And he very kindly, Tuesday morning while I was at work, sent me a picture of himself in his bass boat on Lake Hartwell, scouting out for this Saturday's tournament. So Joel's doing just fine. Just a report on Joel.
All right, we move on to the portion of the meeting that once again entertains our citizen comment. Hearing none. Any other comments from the board? If not, we will consider this meeting adjourned after reminding you that our next meeting is on Thursday, March 16th, 1:30 PM, back in the Hilton Head Council Chambers. Please make every attempt to attend in person if you can.
I noticed on the attendance thing, you're looking at me a lot, but I feel like I've been here.
Not necessarily,
You know,
you're excellent. You make the trip. So with that, meeting is adjourned.